It's almost hard to believe there was a point in time where we were eating good as DC fans in the video game department. I'm talking banger after banger after banger. The Batman Arkham games, the Lego Batman trilogy, the Injustice games, Telltale Batman. Take me back, bro, please. I'm starving out here. Looking back at when DC games actually used to be good, most of the ones I just listed were Batman focused in some way, shape, or form. After the release of Injustice 2, any momentum in releasing major AAA DC games went to a hard stop for whatever reason. It's insane to think about how the last time WB Games released a decent AAA DC video game that wasn't Lego was 2015, almost a whole decade ago. And what exactly have they been doing since then? You'd think in that time frame they'd take the time and effort in allowing other developers to craft different DC games, but no. All we got is a mediocre co-op Bat Family game and whatever you want to call Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Man, you should have seen me when Gotham Knights and Kill the Justice League were first announced at DC Fandom 2020. I was giddier than a mofo, really thought DC games were gonna get their lick back, only to end up being incredibly disappointed with Gotham Knights' goofy ad combat and traversal with a painfully mediocre narrative, and Kill the Justice League being a complete and utter abomination.
That's some bullshit.
It's fair to say that the general public is for sure more in favor of the Marvel IP than DC, simply due to the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but there were some categories that DC always excelled at, like animation and gaming. Well, it seems any sense of quality and respect in the DC gaming department is pretty much non-existent nowadays, as while WB is too busy producing garbage, the Marvel Games division has been allowing a plethora of different developers to cook left and right. DC needs this exact same treatment, almost like a DC Games division solely focused on letting their IP characters to different developers to make AAA games instead of only relying on Rocksteady and WB Games Montreal. Green Lantern game, Flash game, Superman game? Nah, let's try to bank off the success of a garbage movie with Will Smith and Margot Robbie, because that's what people really want. But hey, at least we got that Wonder Woman game coming out soon since it was revealed so long ago. Hey, to all my people excited for Wonder Woman, according to some recent rumors, it's not looking good, bruv. Now, this is just a rumor, it's not 1000% concrete, but according to Greg Miller, he's spoken to a source with knowledge on development for Monolith's upcoming Wonder Woman game, and it seems like the game's in a troubled state. He said not to expect announcements anytime soon, which is infuriating since it's been 2.5 years since it was announced with no new concrete information, no new trailer, no new gameplay, no nothing.
In the past year, because I'll leave it ambiguous, I have talked to an insider who was like, this game's troubled. That's it. That's all I'll say. Yeah. So I don't hold out hope that it's in a place to show something. And I think you could be. You could come out. Obviously, plenty of games are doing. And again, what does troubled actually mean? That it's not like I got like, oh man, people are falling through level 4 or some shit like that. But it's like, I think it's not where they want it to be. I don't think it's ready for prime time. And then I go to, what the fuck is WB doing? What do they want to do? What are they trying to do these games? I could easily see it. You close that studio, you cancel the project.
Despite the fact that the game was announced 2.5 years ago, they're just now hiring for a lead gameplay engineer. I don't understand this obsession in announcing superhero games mad early. Marvel's Wolverine ain't coming out to like 2026 at the earliest, and supposedly that Blade game ain't coming out to like 2027. I question how much progress they've made on the Wonder Woman game. Meanwhile, EA is stated to have made some excellent progress in their Iron Man game, which I'm pretty sure was announced after Wonder Woman. Yo, WB, Marvel games kinda kicking y'all ass right now. Y'all need to start popping off again. Only things y'all got so far is a horrendous looter shooter that won't last a year, an upcoming single player game with no new substantial info. Meanwhile, Insomniac essentially is now a Marvel development studio. Ever since they got hacked some months back, tons of new info on their future projects leaked, and every single major game they're working on, aside from a new Ratchet and Clank game, is a Marvel title. They have plans to develop Marvel games up to like 2030 something, which includes Marvel Spider-Man 3, Marvel's Wolverine, and a couple other games. Then you got other publishers like EA working on an Iron Man game and a Black Panther solo game. Other major announcements included Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra with Azuri as Black Panther and Steve Rogers as Captain America, Marvel Rivals, Blade, like damn nigga, fight back, DC, fight back. I still cannot believe we lost out on a Batman Beyond game in favor of Gotham Knights and Kill the Justice League. The downfall of Rocksteady Studios needs to be studied for generations. This was a lifetime fumble if I've ever seen one. What the hell were they thinking when making this game? Even if we ignore the god-awful story and the fact that it's supposed to take place in the Batman Arkham Universe, it fundamentally fails at being a live service game. These types of games are supposed to convince you, the player, to log in regularly even if new content isn't dropping on like a weekly basis or something. The player base for this game is non-existent, and for the 10 people who still play it, they don't even log in until there's new content that's dropped, which is never anything substantial. Oh my god, we get to fight Brainiac with a rehashed Justice League boss fight for the 5th time. Let's go. All you had to do was make a single player DC game. It didn't even need to be another Arkham game. This whole time, a part of me slightly gave Rocksteady the benefit of the doubt, since we all assumed it was WB's mandate to make a live service Suicide Squad game. Apparently, it was the higher ups at Rocksteady themselves who decided to make Kill the Justice League a live service game. Rocksteady, you were in large part for my obsession with Batman with the Arkham trilogy. What the hell is this, man?
I used to look up to you, man. How could you do this?
The DLC for this game is laughable. They really got the Jonkler from the Manham series as the first DLC character. Their next character for Season 2 isn't Mr. Freeze, but rather a Mrs. Freeze.
What?
The character model for Mrs. Freeze leaked not too long ago, and the design is genuinely hideous. I don't know who in the studio thought this was a good idea.
I have seen everything that has ever happened, ever will happen, and yet, what the hell is this?
They really went out of their way to implement this character instead of just using Killer Frost, who's been a member of Task Force X in the comics and in Batman Assault on Arkham. If I were them, I would just release the remaining 3 seasons within the next several months or so, since the interest for this game is pretty much dead. Apparently Deathstroke is the DLC character for the 4th and final season, where they bring back Batman. Yeah, wrap it up, buddy. All kinds of delulu if you think this game is lasting deep into 2025. Jason Schreier wrote a whole article on the disaster that was Kill the Justice League, as he spoke to several direct sources who worked on the development for the game. There was a ton of shifting in direction, with the unfortunate decision in going from melee focused combat to having a more gun oriented gameplay mechanic. I was flabbergasted while reading the article with how Sefton Hill during the development process was also BS. Supposedly staff members would wait weeks, sometimes even months, for Sefton Hill to review their work. He struggled to convey some of his big ideas as he scrapped huge chunks of the script, which further slowed development. It made matters even worse when the co-founders Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker straight up left the studio in late 2022, and at that time the game was set to release in May 2023. Obviously that didn't happen, as the game was delayed by almost a whole year. Miller Ross also had a tweet going in depth on the actual process in the making of Suicide Squad's narrative, and how a lot of it came from Sefton Hill. It was his idea to leave the audience shocked at the end with the death of the Justice League, and the multiple developers that Miller Ross spoke to told him how they basically begged Sefton to allow them to drop more hints in the main game that the Justice League were still alive or they were coming back in some way. The captains of the Rocksteady cruise ship really crashed it and then abandoned ship before it sank with the rest of their crew.
Good job.
Well, I hope it was all worth it, considering the game amounted to a whole $200 million loss for WB's quarterly earnings when compared to how successful Hogwarts Legacy was the previous year. Yeah, Rocksteady is so cooked, dog. As of now, the leaders at Rocksteady are looking to pitch a new single-player game, which would take them back to their roots, with some pointing out that they might even get another chance at a Batman game. Yeah, no. I have no desire in this current version of Rocksteady making another single-player DC game, let alone another Batman Arkham game. Most of the developers who made the Arkham series aren't even there anymore. They over there at Sefton Hill's new studio, 100 Star Games. This is a completely different Rocksteady, and if Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League proves anything, is that these niggas cannot cook for shit. But hey, aren't you excited for the next installment in the Batman Arkham franchise, where it's only available on a VR headset nobody owns? You're telling me you wouldn't drop $500 on a MetaQuest 3 to play Batman Arkham Shadow? You a fake fan for real. This game has no reason being titled Batman Arkham, as if they hadn't tarnished this universe already. You literally could have just made a random standalone VR Batman game instead of blue-balling the entire Arkham community into oblivion.
I'm really excited to get back and just excited to see this. I'm fucking tired of this shit. Fucking tired of this bullshit. Tired of this shit.
I've seen people claim that this could be the lead to an actual proper Arkham Origins sequel, and if the game does well, that idea could become a reality. My only problem with that is that the sales numbers for a game with this level of exclusivity isn't really a good measure in figuring out how much people want an Arkham Origins sequel. If they had just taken the time to actually make an Arkham Origins 2, hell, even if they had just copy and pasted the game code from Arkham Knight like they did with Arkham City when WB Montreal made Arkham Origins, a game like that still would have generated generated more hype and revenue than kill the Justice League and this Arkham Shadow. I just hope they don't milk the Arkham series to the point it becomes their own Assassin's Creed, with releasing an Arkham title every couple of years or so. Now, there is certainly potential for a good Arkham game if it's from a developer that isn't Rocksteady, and in a hypothetical scenario where a AAA single-player Arkham game would come out every so often, would I buy every single one like the Batman whore that I am? Probably, but that is definitely not the ideal scenario. My fascination with this character has its limits. You ain't catching me spend $500 on a headset I'ma use once, then never touch again, forever collecting dust. WB Games, you know you have other children in the DC catalog you can let play in the playground who aren't Batman, right? We should have been playing a Flash solo game, and especially a Superman game. Bro is long overdue for a single AAA release. The possibilities are endless for a Green Lantern game. Even if they wanted to implement their live service multiplayer bullcrap, it could work for a Green Lantern core game if executed correctly. And these aren't even some obscure characters who should have games. These are some of the most recognizable DC characters with no games in sight, literal household names. The Guardians of the Galaxy really got a modern game before the Justice League.
Marcus, and
Step out.
Okay, I'm gonna talk to Marcus.
Step, get the fuck off my expo chef now!
I don't even know what other DC games are on the horizon besides Wonder Woman and more Suicide Squad DLC slop. Maybe NetherRealm is cooking in Injustice 3, but with how they've handled the DLC and other content in MK1, a game like that kinda worries me a bit. I've never gotten too deep into fighting games. Obviously I played Injustice 1 and 2, but the only fighting game I really got into and played for an extended period of time was Dragon Ball FighterZ, but I don't know if I can ever go back to that game. If I boot it up, I'm gonna start tweaking again. I'm not trying to crash out, but I will be there day one for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. It'd be nice for once if WB executives weren't complete buffoons when handling the DC IP. They somehow single-handedly tarnished the DC brand, all the way from the live-action DCEU to freaking gaming, sitting on a goldmine of complex, intriguing characters that make up the DC mythos, and they aren't even willing to expose these characters to the general public. You could make the argument it's because fans only want Batman content, but how could you possibly know what other characters people might gravitate towards if you don't even push them in the first place? Of course, people are only going to want Batman media if that's all you give them and that's all they know. I don't ever want to live in a reality where the next handful of DC games are on the same tier of dog water as Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. I just want some fun, well-made DC single-player games for years to come. Is that such a demanding task? Is that so hard to do?
Am I not supposed to have what I want? What I need?